Hey guys, what's up? It's Notavalvegame back with Hunter tips and tricks. This is a little bit different than the other ones. Normally I do it live on stream, which I did do this time. However, it was filled with a couple of interruptions and some inconveniences during it, and I didn't feel comfortable uploading that to YouTube. Just as kind of a thrown in thing. So this could be a bit different. I'm not going to have the pressure of chat or anything on. It's just a little recording for me to kind of free flow with it. It's still not scripted or anything, which I feel makes it a bit more genuine, but yeah, just do a normal tips and tricks style, going through the hunters in alphabetical order, starting with a Muzenkob, ending with Xball, and each of them will be time-stamped in the description, so you could skip around to your favorite character or characters you need to learn from. And yeah, if you'd like the video, please subscribe, appreciate it, and check out the Twitch if you aren't already a follower there. At 500 followers, I'm going to start face cam streams, so that'll be fun. Anyway, starting with a Muzenkob. Bees and honey. So there's a lot of different ways you can apply bees to honey. Typically the 1, and then just throwing down your honey in range of the 1. However, you can do it with your 2 afterwards. So you throw out the 2, and then you apply the honey like that. So yeah. Next up, I'm going to talk about the 3, and it takes a long time to cast. If let's say you're running away from somebody, that's a long time to cast. If you just have it in front of you, not moving your mouse. But a really quick way to get it down and keep going is you just kind of flick your mouse in whatever direction you need it to go for the bees to be applied, or for the honey to be put down on the ground. And you're free to do things, because during this entire cast, I cannot use my beads. I was spamming F there, and I could not use my beads until that last moment. So if you're being chased by like a Fenrir or something and you're putting honey on the ground, you're not going to be able to beads his ultimate or a stun until you're done placing honey on the ground. So the best way to remedy that is to just throw it in front of you, or just throw it around you. I typically like to throw it in front of me, and then just run on that path so they get hit by it and are slowed. And this is this relic thing is applicable during all of his casts. You see that slight animation where I can't use it. I'm spamming F. You can hear the little bumper noise. There it's much more evident with the longer animations. So be cautious of that, especially when it comes to honey. Otherwise, it's it for AMC. We're gonna move on to Anhur. Anhur's got a couple things. That being the Pillar Impale combo, which is kind of Anhur's bread and butter, as well as a little trick to prevent yourself from being zoned on Anhur. So, with Anhur,
Warriors, to battle.
Obviously, there's a pretty difficult to land combo on a moving target, but Pillar Impale, because Impale stuns on a wall, Pillar counts as a wall, and you can stun them on it. Yeah. Another thing you could do, let's just say I'm being crippled by a Poseidon, or or a CC is coming my way that's going to prevent me from jumping. When the CC, I can ult when the CC hits me, and if I'm CC immune during that time, I'll be able to jump right after, even if it's a Poseidon whirlpool, or anything that cripples, or an Ardeo field. And then, let me reset my level here just to show you. All right. You see, I'm completely out of range. 70 units is the range. And I still got the XP, even though I didn't hit it recently. That's because Pillar applies a slow effect, which is affecting the minions. I'm technically hitting them with that slow, so it means I can get the XP even if I'm being zoned away by an opponent who's a couple levels ahead of me. Outside of that 70 unit range you normally need to be in for minions. And yeah, that's it with Anhur. Next we're going to talk about Apollo. Something that people forget, even though it's in the ability description, is that the moves stacks Audacity. The moves being Apollo's 3. When you dash through targets, it stacks your passive. Which is why you'll see some higher level Apollos, especially when the Apollo jungle meta was a thing. You saw them dashing through waves, dashing through camps, and things of that nature to get their passive stack to make their clear better or their damage better.
Another performance already.
Just to show you.
Can't get enough of me.
See, and when I dash through, Audacity is being stacked. Yeah. Also, with his ultimate. Only the last tick of it needs to hit a target for it to knock up. And of course I miss because I did it too early. But you get what I mean. Only the last hit of the Apollo ult actually needs to hit the target for it to knock up. Granted, that wasn't a perfect example, but you get what I mean. Only the last bit of damage needs to hit for them to be knocked up during the ultimate. Yeah, that's it for Apollo, really. Next, we're going to talk about Artemis. The only thing really with Artemis is that you need to watch the animations. Similar to a Muzen Cob, you can't cast relics during those longer animations. Specifically with her trap, which is a pretty decently long animation. Of her placing the trap on the ground. So, be careful with that when you're being chased by somebody.
Let the hunt begin.
Let me show you. That whole time I'm pressing F. During that animation. So yeah.
Get out of this.
And then one more thing with the boar. If the boar has no targets to go to, let's just say in a situation it has no targets to go to, it will attack things like minions, objectives, stuff like that. So yeah, that's it for Artemis. Next we're going to do Cernunnos. Cernunnos is a bit more complex than the other ones. However, he does still have some relatively simple things. A lot of people don't know how to clear wave properly as Cernunnos. Like, I watch people do it all the time, and they only hit the front minions with it. The key is standing to the side of the wave to hit it.
With me you all shall flourish and prosper.
So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to use normal cast here, even though I normally use instant. You see, this first targeter prevents me from throwing at max range. However, if I come from the side, I can hit everybody. All right. And
Essential.
when you're at higher attack speeds, changing stances will slow down your attack speed, like during autos. Whereas I normally would be hitting like this, I'm hitting slower. Next up, you can stance change while dashing. Just to show you again, you could stance change while dashing. See, I'm changing colors during the whole thing. This is through the entire animation. So yeah. That's it for Cernunnos. Next, we're going to talk about Charybdis. Charybdis right now is very, very weak. Until next patch where Clydai, whatever, the Banshee Queen is released. Clydea, whatever it is. This is, Charybdis is pretty weak. Her 1 is a pretty mediocre ability, and her ultimate is as well. Her ultimate's slow, hard to confirm, and her 1 also makes her move slower. And she doesn't have much strafing opportunity during it.
Ah, yes. I remember hunting with father all across the ocean. But this time...
Alright, relax, Charybdis. I'm talking now. With your Tide meter, both of these abilities require Tide to be at their full effectiveness. You need about 1/3 of your Tide meter filled up for them to have full effectiveness. Hang on 1 second. I'm just gonna level myself real fast to make this a bit faster. So you see here, it's still not filled up all the way. And now it is. And the 3 will eat almost all of this when you go into the faster mode. One other thing I will note is that you cannot use relics while doing this. Relics that affect yourself or your teammates. You can't place wards, you can't do anything else while in this until you throw that out. And be careful, because you can use beads while in her ultimate, even though that does nothing for you. So watch your buttons. The only ability you can use relics during is her 1. The rest of them you can't use relics during. Or, well, her ultimate you can use beads, but that's it. It's the only relic you can use it while in her ultimate. Okay. That's it for Charybdis. Next, we're going to hop to Chernobog. Chernobog can land a lot faster than people think. People think he has to go all the way up into the air before he can land, where that is not true. Chernobog can pretty much instantly fly down if he needs to.
Just as the turning of the seasons is inevitable,
So let me show you what I mean. So let's just say you're in a boxing situation with another ADC. You use your cooldowns. You can immediately land down on them. They don't even have to. You don't even have to go all the way up. So yeah. Also, even though his 2 counts as auto attack damage, like the damage is dealt as a basic attack and can crit, it does not hit towers.
you cannot hit what you cannot see.
You can also just instantly cancel your ultimate as well in certain situations. Granted, I don't know how useful that would be entirely, because if you're being chased or you need to apply a slow, it might be better just to fly into them. But just so you know. And your dash. You can dash into a wall and then just step out. You don't even have to, by right-clicking and canceling, you don't even have to dash a second time. So yeah. We're gonna skip over Cupid, Chiron, and we're gonna skip over Cupid and Chiron because they don't really have anything special. They're pretty straightforward with their kits. One thing I will note with Chiron, Cupid, Chiron, and Danza, excuse me, I forgot about Danza, but Cupid, Chiron, and Danza don't really have anything special. One thing to note about Chiron is that if you kill somebody at any point during your ultimate, it could be the first, the second, or the third shot, and you die or you are in that dead state, you will revive. Doesn't matter if you died before or after killing them, but if your ultimate kills them, which excludes Crusher, Bluestone, what have you, you know, you will be revived. With Cupid, he's straightforward. There really isn't advanced tech. Except for placing hearts close to the wall. So 2 of them are grouped up. But that's really not that advanced. And Danza, there's nothing really advanced with him. So Hachiman is next. With Hachiman, you've got a few things. So, Hachiman's probably one of my favorite hunters. Let me start off with the simple stuff. Hachiman's one extends his auto attack range and will not hit towers, even if you're in range for it. Does not hit towers. Just so you know. Another simple thing. Let's say you're being chased, or you're in a boxing match, and you want to stun their ADC. Dashing into a wall will shorten the hitbox of the stun. So let me show you what I mean. Normal casting, and I will put on reduced cooldown. To show you what I mean. So this circle always applies around you. Even though the targeter went into the wall here, this circle will always apply around you. So if an ADC or whoever you're fighting is in this wall, like trying to gank you or whatever, you can stun them, turn the fight on them. So keep an eye open for that. Alright. And the last thing, let me switch this back before I forget. Last thing, the horse movement. Now let me show you, if I'm not holding down any of my movement keys, what the horse's speed is like. That's normal horse movement speed. Now I will show you where it goes holding W. Much further. I think you're going to get my point here, but holding S. You get my point. You control the movement of Hachiman's horse. Unlike Guan Yu horse, where you control it with your mouse and what direction you're going, Hachiman is purely WASD. Obviously, you change your mouse direction to aim the shot, but the horse does not change directions well without you hitting your arrow keys. So keep that in mind. You control the horse's movement, how fast, how slow, and line it up that way. All right. Next, we're going to talk about Heimdallr. Heimdallr's a little weird, but again, he's one of my favorite hunters. Because of just the way his kit works and just how cool it is, you know? And most of it revolves around his Bifrost. I'll tell you what you can and can't do while teleporting in the Bifrost, or while channeling to teleport in the Bifrost. One thing that's a little annoying about this is that the Bifrost cooldown is not affected by the reduced cooldown. So, or the teleportation Bifrost cooldown is not affected by it. So one thing you could do is your horn still does damage while you travel. We gotta wait again for it, sorry. Well, while we're waiting for that, I could show you another thing. You could determine which direction you send them by turning your camera to face whatever direction you want to send them when you're Heimdallr ulting. Now that this is back up, the horn still casts while you're teleporting. And one thing some higher level Heimdalls do that you may not know is they auto-cancel to clear the wave earlier on. Granted, this eats up a lot of mana, but you get my point. Now, if I ult into this crystal, the entire time I'm dashing, I cannot teleport. However, there's a brief moment of CC immunity in Heimdallr's ult at the end where you could still be teleporting, where you could start the channel for the teleport. But while I'm in that dash animation, I cannot teleport through. Now. You can Aegis and beads while teleporting if you need to get out of a situation. So if you pre-beads a stun or whatever, because CC will take you out of the... Certain CCs will take you out of the teleport animation. So yeah. Yeah. And ulting while traveling in the crystal will stop the travel. And that's it. Thanks for talking about Hou Yi. The main advanced tips and tricks, quote unquote, with this is the bounce. Also, if you're fighting a Hou Yi, do not fight him when he has mark on you. You really don't want to fight him when he has mark on you. Hou Yi gains so many things from having his 2 on you that it's like fighting almost fighting two completely different characters from with the mark and without the mark. He gains a stun on his 1, a knock up on his 3, and an additional slow on his ultimate. So, let me explain the bounces. So, here's the normal damage of 1. Alright, not that much. Granted, I'm not building any, I don't have any items built, but you get my point. Now, let me show you 2. The damage scales up. Now, this is 3 bounces. Which does more. There is not a triple bounce spot that I can hit here. But this is technically 3 bounces because of this corner. The amount of times it bounces scales up how much damage it does. Now, what's a good way to gauge? While I'm sitting here lining up my target, what's a good way to gauge if I want to do it quickly, right? You can get a vague idea after you've played Hou Yi for a bit, or even Kuzenbo, where this is going to bounce. Because that's a pretty obvious angle. Whereas in this corner, it's a little bit more awkward. But if there's like a tight wall like there is here, you could assume that it might bounce back and forth between the 2 spots. Again, you'll get a feel with it eventually. Hou Yi bounces are a bit trickier than other abilities, so yeah. You'll get used to it after a while. Also, his ultimate. Let me do that a bit more clearly. So I'm going to place it on top of these Odins and immediately turn around. Where I place it is where it goes. There's no in-between about that. Where I place it is where it goes. It doesn't follow you. It doesn't cast differently because you turned. You place it down and it goes there. It's the only spot it is going. So yeah. Next, we're going to talk about Neith. Neith only has 1 thing. Actually, she has 2 things now that I'm looking at my notes again. But Neith is an old character, and her age kind of shows in her kit. Neith's 2 is pretty janky, in that getting CC'd during it. Also, I'm skipping over these gods over here. Izanami, Jing Wei, and Medusa. Because Jing Wei, Medusa, and Izanami really don't have much that's advanced about them. Because pretty straightforward. Izanami can cancel her 1 to have her back and forth autos, like her boomerang autos. Jing Wei is a very bread and butter character, dashing during knockups, things of that nature. And Medusa, again, another bread and butter character. Very simple. And yeah. We're gonna move straight to Neith because I'd be wasting my time trying to tell you tips and tricks when realistically there aren't any advanced tips or tricks. You know. So with Neith, to show you what I mean, Neith's 2 is a long animation. I didn't cast my 2 there, even though the animation went off. Let's reset the Ymir here. So again, he didn't freeze me immediately. But you get my point. The animation is long, and it only resets after it does the damage. So if I don't get the damage and heal, it has not gone on cooldown. So yeah. And then with Neith, you could shoot before even on the ground, really. Granted, that did a grand total of 130 damage. But that's it. Alright, we're gonna move to Rama next. Like I said before, all the gods will be time-stamped. This is gonna be a bit of a shorter one because I'm kind of just banging all these out really fast. But everything's gonna be time-stamped, and I will list the gods without tips and tricks. Realistically. Because I know I'm skipping 6 of the Hunter roster. I actually will be skipping, no, I won't be skipping Skadi, actually, because there's a couple things you could do with her. But skipping 6 members of the Hunter roster, because Hunters are a lot more simple than something like an Assassin, where it could have a lot of intricacies and things you could do, whereas Thor has a complete combo and how you do things, and Susanoo auto-attack cancels, all that stuff. Hunters are relatively simple. So with Rama, there's really only one thing. Rama's ultimate, obviously you ascend into the sky and then you shoot down 3 shots. You can shoot that first shot before you're all the way up in the sky. While you're flying up.
By this hand, my arrows will purge every demon from this earth.
So to show you what I mean, I shot that arrow before I was even fully up. See, I'm already on that second one by the time I'm up there. Again, it will still land where the targeter is, but you're firing it before you go up. So let me get a visual on this just to show you a bit better. Also, holding it down means you could fire as many shots like really, really fast. This works in actual games. I tested it. See, I fired that really fast. Granted, you can go a little bit faster by just clicking. But, again, shooting it before you go all the way up in the air is the main point here. All right, so then all we got left now is Ullr, Xbalanque, and Skadi.
Happy Dia de los Muertos, Skadi.
Skadi is my least favorite character in the game. I cannot stand that character. However, there is some weirdness with her kit that I would like to show you. Specifically regarding Calder and her ultimate.
Or we return to Valhalla, a glorious day regardless.
So let me show you what I mean. Calder being set on one target, and it'll be set on another one. You can call Calder back before he's even in the air.
Should have brought your skis.
So
Storm rages on.
this is actually probably a bad example. Let me hook it onto the Odin bot.
Blizzard is upon us.
She's already coming back.
Storm rages on.
Calder didn't even land, pretty much, and he's already walking his way back.
Blizzard is upon us.
So be careful when doing that, especially when you're trying to mark another target,
Rages on.
because Calder will be running back to you and you'll be like, what the hell just happened? I wasted my ultimate. So be careful when pressing the 2 and doing that. So yeah. Ullr. A lot of high-level Ullrs level him a particular way. I personally do this as well, because it maximizes his damage output earlier on, especially now with how powerful the maces are in the meta. I'll show you what I mean, but Ullr, the way you level Ullr's abilities, honestly, a lot of newer players aren't comfortable with, because it seems weird to limit yourself on your abilities and not level certain ones, but it's worth it in my opinion. So let me show you. Let me level myself up to about level 8 and show you how I level Ullr. So Ullr, I start with the 1, obviously. I get my 2. Then I put another point into my 1, and then I put another point into my 2. And then I keep maxing these abilities until both of these are maxed. Until both my 1 and 2 are maxed. My 1 and 3 are maxed. I don't put points into any other ability. And then I will put 1 point into my ultimate, grab my 2 afterwards, and then start putting points to my ultimate whenever I can, and then putting points into the 2 afterwards. So yeah, that's how you level Ullr. Lastly, X-Ball. With X-Ball, there's a bit of similarity between him and Hachiman in terms of the advanced tip with him. It's regarding his dash. X-Ball's distance, the distance X-Ball dashes is based on the movement speed he has at the time. The distance and duration is based on the movement. Well, distance and by virtue of that, the duration of it is based on the movement speed he has at the time. So at level 1, where you have no movement speed, you don't go very, very far with the dash. However, at level 20, let me show you some of the max distance. Oh, some of the pretty ridiculous distance you can get with this. Level 20, you can move pretty ridiculously far. With your ultimate up, because your ultimate gives you movement speed. Another thing a lot of people forget about the ultimate is that it extends your auto attack range, which means, let me just show you, you can hit tower outside of range. So remember these things. Now with his dash, you use the directionals the same way you can use them with like Hachiman horse and other abilities. You could dash backwards without turning your camera. Granted, you could turn your camera, but it's a bit less effective than just going like this instead, you know? Moving to the left or right, what have you. Especially when you need to change directions. So yeah. All right. That's it for the Hunter tips and tricks. Again, like I said before, with the 6 that I'm leaving out, is because, again, there really isn't any advanced tips and tricks, and I'd just be wasting my own time and your time by trying to explain or overcomplicate things when they really aren't that complicated. Things I haven't included are typically in the abilities description unless it's more niche. For example, with X-Ball's ultimate extending his auto attack range, or Apollo's dash giving him stacks on Audacity. It's a bit more niche that newer players won't notice or won't read or whatever, or what have you, right? And most of the stuff I told you was either tricks devised by players, or just things that are, again, lesser known. Hope you enjoyed the video and you learned something new. If you did so, I'd appreciate a subscription. Also, I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and sometimes on Saturday on Twitch. Between, typically for the weekdays, it's 3 and 7. Monday and Wednesday, I typically start around 4, but Friday I start at 3. And yeah, I'm also doing a giveaway on Twitter right now. Follow the steps of my Twitter. I'll link the tweet below. Follow the steps, and you'll be entered to win the Dino Cernunnos skin. I believe it's called Jurassic Hunter Cernunnos. Forgot the name of it. Otherwise, yeah, join the Discord. I will link it below. I announce every single time I go live and every time I post a video in there. So if you want to keep up with me and my content, I would appreciate it if you joined that. And come hang out. Come say hi. Otherwise, I think that's it. Enough shilling. Have a nice day, guys. Hope I helped.